If you have a pretty face, you start life one step ahead, with all doors open to you without you even trying. Everything is easier for you than for other people, right? Wrong. Actually, even though everyone aspires to be pretty, this doesn't necessarily mean that being pretty also has its own shortcomings. In today's video, I'll share with you my thoughts on the dark side of being pretty and whether it's worth it or not. So without further ado, let's dive in. First and foremost, pretty people are often one of the most stereotyped groups in society, as people tend to see them as less intelligent or capable simply because they're pretty. I mean, there's no need to even say that this is ridiculous. But this is exactly what happens when a pretty person achieves academic success or a promotion at work, which is more than unfair. This also leads people to not take pretty people seriously, especially in professional and academic settings. Remember Legally Blonde? That film is onto something. This leads me to the fact that people don't expect attractive individuals to be hardworking or ambitious. Thus, every single achievement they get is attributed to their looks rather than their hard work.
Thank you.
This overlooking of the capabilities of pretty people might push them to rely on their looks for success or validation, which might hinder personal growth and the development of other qualities. So there is somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy there, or a vicious cycle, however you may want to define it. Also, pretty people are often reduced to their physical appearance, ignoring their other qualities. Think of pretty people on social media. Yes, they tend to gain popularity more quickly, but the comments they get are often overwhelmingly about how pretty they are, regardless of their content and the value they were aiming to provide to their audience. The objectification of celebrities is a subject that we're all familiar with, but I feel like many of us tend to overlook the objectification of pretty people in general, even in daily circumstances. With objectification comes unwanted attention, ranging from persistent suitors to more serious forms of harassment. Especially in the age of social media, it's very likely for pretty people to be the target of unwanted attention and deal with the discomfort that comes with it. Attractiveness can sometimes lead to envy from others, which can result in social isolation. Thus, I feel like a lot of pretty people tend to find it hard to form genuine friendships because peers assume they are arrogant or because they become the target of jealousy. This situation also complicates romantic relationships. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the partners of pretty people tend to be overly possessive or distrusting, fearing that they'll attract the attention of others. Of course, this is a very broad generalization, and there are a lot of people in trusting, healthy relationships. But let's be honest, many people already struggle to feel secure in a romantic relationship, let alone in a relationship with a very attractive person. There's also the question of superficial relationships. Since a lot of people tend to approach individuals based solely on their looks, I feel like pretty people are more at risk of finding themselves in these types of relationships. Not only their romantic partners, but also even some of their friends might be with them simply because they're pretty, rather than their personality and values. This might lead pretty individuals to feel like they're being used to gain social status, rather than forming a genuine friendship, eventually leading to feelings of loneliness and doubt about people's intentions. There's also a tendency in people to attribute positive moral and behavioral traits to pretty individuals, a phenomenon known as the halo effect. Now, this may sound great at first, thinking that everyone assumes you're a nice person simply because you're pretty. However, don't be fooled. In reality, this effect can backfire so easily, as any mistake a pretty person makes may be judged more harshly. A pretty person making a minor error at work might be criticized more severely, as they're expected to be perfect in all aspects, not just in appearance. Being pretty impacts the psyche of the individual as well. We are all under the stress of being expected to look at all times. However, pretty people experience this a lot harder, as they are directly defined by their looks rather than their other qualities. Thus, I feel like pretty people tend to be obsessed with being beautiful at all times and preserving that beauty at all costs. In fact, there's a high risk of developing a reliance on physical appearance for self-esteem. And thus, any slight change in looks, whether that comes with aging or anything else, might have a very devastating impact on them. As you can see, being pretty is not a one-dimensional phenomenon that comes solely with its advantages. In reality, it has a whole dark side that is often overlooked by the masses. But I have to admit that the advantages are probably way more than the disadvantages in total. After all, there might be a reason why people have always wanted to look good since the beginning of time, right? But what do you think? Do you think being pretty is worth it? Do you experience any of these disadvantages in your daily life? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.